How's it going, all my tacticians, and welcome back to another uncompetitive Pokemon. Now, this Pokemon is not really, what's the word? I'm gonna restart this. How's it going, all my tacticians? Welcome back to another uncompetitive Pokemon, the series where I take Pokemon that are not very competitive and try to figure out how to make them very competitive. Now, this Pokemon is going to confuse some of you because you're going to be thinking, Magnezone? Why is Magnezone not very competitive? I use it all the time. It's actually very powerful. Well, you're right. Magnezone is very powerful. But there's one tiny thing holding it back from being like super competitive. And that is, well, its combination typing of electric and steel, and the fact that two of its abilities are, not very effective when played against certain other teams. Like, for example, I'm talking about Magnet Pull and Analytic. Sturdy is a pretty effective ability. It actually will protect it from a lot of things, especially those super powerful one-hit KO moves. But Analytic and Magnet Pull are two abilities that Magnezone doesn't really make use of. Magnet Pull, makes sense for Magnezone. But Analytic is an ability that I just never found all that effective, especially if I'm going to be using it, like, say, in a Trick Room setting. Like, if I were going to be using this Pokemon, I wouldn't be using Magnezone to, let my opponent outspeed me. Because if I do that, I run the risk of, getting KO'd. Now, Magnezone has some really powerful defenses. 115 and 90 in both physical and special defense is not something to make fun of. It can survive quite a few hits. But the fact that there are a lot of Pokemon out there that specifically specialize in, sweeping, for example, just dealing enormous amounts of damage from the start of turn 1, for example, they're going to give Magnezone a real hard time. So unless it's running that sturdy ability or has a focus sash, you're not going to make use of the analytic ability. And unless you're going in thinking of taking on other steel type Pokemon with Magnezone, you're not going to be really making use of the Magnet Pull ability. So that got me thinking, how could we improve Magnezone? How could we make it stronger? I mean, like, could we remove some stats? No, I'm not talking about removing any stats. Okay, so Okay, so if we're not going to remove any stats and, transfer them to something else, what are we going to do then? What about giving it some different new moves? No. Magnezone doesn't really need any different moves. It actually has quite a few powerful moves on its own. For example, we got the Zap Cannon. If we want to be making use of really high powerful moves, and for example, let's say we're going for Gravity. Gravity Zap Cannon. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the tactician who used that against me. Okay, so we got that. We got also Discharge if we want to. We've also got Infamous Flash Cannon, really powerful stab moves. We even have access to some other moves. For example, we have access to, I believe, Psych Up. Yeah, there we go, Psych Up right there. So we have access to Psych Up there to make ourselves really powerful. We also have access to the Hidden Power, depending on what you want to use. For example, Hidden Power Steel. Or not Hidden Power Steel, Hidden Power Ice. I don't know why I said Steel there. And we have access to Signal Beam, a really useful bug type move if you wanted to make use of that. And as for other moves, we also have access to, Tri Attack, for example. If we had, I think it can learn Tri Attack as well. I don't know why it needs the pre-evolution move. But in any case, Magnezone has quite a few options. So what are we going to change about it? Well, it actually goes back to Magnemite. This is actually a Pokemon that, I did a little bit of research. Yes, I did research. And back in the Red and Blue days, and going up to, I believe, until Diamond and Pearl, for example. No, it even goes then. Until recently, it always says it's used anti-gravity to stay suspended, meaning it stays in the air. So why don't we give it that ability? Why don't we give it the ability Levitate? Seriously, why don't we give the Magnezone the ability Levitate? It would add a really powerful defense for Magnezone, and it would get rid of its one greatest weakness, and that is ground. It would get rid of that 4 times weakness to ground. There are so many Pokemon that learn a ground type move, especially Pokemon that learn the move Earthquake. that is a move that Magnezone really does not like to deal with. And for those of you saying, well, doesn't it learn an electric move that allows it to stay in the air or something? Now, I don't know what it is. Maybe I believe it's magnetic flux. I believe, no, that's not it. So I don't know what move it is, but, there it is, Magnet Rise. So giving it, like, say, Magnet Rise, it even has an ability that would allow it to float in the air with magnetism. That's just not enough. You'd have to, like, set up a Trick Room, or your opponent has to be even slower to set up the Magnet Rise, and it's not a move you're really going to be using. Especially if you're going to go for the Z move here, like, for example, just raising your evasiveness one stage. That's a big gamble you're going to use if you're going to go for a Magnet Rise, and you're going to try yourself to make yourself immune to ground-type moves. And what if you're facing off someone against, like, Groudon, for example? Are you really gonna gamble against a Groudon, for example, if it's a Pokemon that has both access to both ground and fire type moves? Are you really gonna take that gamble? I myself wouldn't. I would always predict the fire type move over the ground type move against a Groudon if I'm weak to the fire type move. So that got me going to thinking about Levitate, and if I was doing, like, I did some research, I believe I did some research. I'm gonna show my desktop here or something. Let's say, yes, you can actually float with magnetism. So again, why not give Magnezone that Levitate ability? It would make sense on a Pokemon that is known for having a really, really powerful magnetic field, generating, a really powerful magnetic field. Even 3 times the strength of, like, Magnezone, which is 3 Magnemites combined. So why not give Magnezone that Levitate ability? But in any case, that is what I was thinking. I wouldn't really change anything else about Magnezone. Again, I think maybe, just for giggles, just to give Magnezone even, some more tools to work with. Maybe drop some of its physical attack or so and put it into, like, say, its HP or even its other special defense stat. Make it a really bulky, electric steel type Pokemon. But that's just me. So giving Magnezone, like, the Levitate ability, replacing Analytic, for example, would give it a really powerful ability to keep itself safe against its #1 weakness, ground, and it would still have that weakness to fire and fighting, for example. But in any case, that's all I've got to say about the Magnezone. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you all in the next time. Bye-bye!
I'm taking in what I can get, but I can't find the answers yet. Head underwater, slow my mind. I hold my breath until I'm found.